Here we go.
Power! It's a fall from grace for Eddy Thorpe. A thunderous one at that. And Oba.
If you come at the king, you best not miss.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of this contest, and
Acknowledge us.
Hey, guys. We're here at the Red Carpet Ring. Turnbuckle King in the building. We're going to talk about WWE NXT. Oba Femi defends NXT title against Eddy Thorpe. Also, North American title will be defended. Now, get the lights as we come into the ring. We will talk about how the show went for this episode. Now, as you can see, we got Bayley there. She's made her second appearance in NXT 2 weeks in a row. And we'll go over what went wrong and what went right with NXT, the issues, the grade, and everything else. And I'll got some current news as well. It's kind of, it's similar. It's about NXT. Something that's been discussed before. That's been an ongoing situation. Also, the bonus round will be a good one. We're going to talk about the problem with the NXT men's division. So before we do get into it, let's look over the match card for NXT, the current episode. As we can see here, now we had not one, not two, but three matches that was for a title or cup. We have the NXT Heritage Cup, which is Lexis King versus Charlie Dempsey. We have the North American Championship, Tony D'Angelo of the family versus Ridge Holland. And of course, in the main event, we do have Oba Femi, the NXT champion, versus Eddy Thorpe one-on-one. So advertised, of course, there are other matches that follows. So with that being said, let's get on to the first match of the night. Now, the first match here is Tony D'Angelo versus Ridge Holland, which is for the North American Championship. Now, this was a very good match. It showcased a lot of offense that Ridge Holland had. Ridge Holland was in there. He uses power like he normally does. He's a powerhouse build. He did his thing. We saw that. And then we also saw some offense back from Tony D'Angelo. Now, however, we did see, there was some, of course, distractions on the ringside. We saw the family out there. We saw them there. Then we also saw Izzy Dane, who, of course, made a deal with Tony D'Angelo a week or two prior. It was a very good match. It showed both men, getting physical with each other, good offense, defense. It was well balanced out. But the turning point of the match is Izzy Dane came in. She kicked Ridge Holland, and it caused Tony D'Angelo to score the victory and retain his North American Championship. So, and then backstage later on, Izzy Dane told Tony D'Angelo we're even, and then talking about, Tony D'Angelo defended her against Shawn Spears, because, Shawn Spears trying to initiate her into his group. So that was a good first match opener of the night. Let's move on to the next match of the show. Well, segment, I should say. We had a segment here before we get to the second match. Bayley, Julia, Roxanne Perez, and Cora Jade. Now, Bayley came out. She talked about how much she likes the, of course, NXT. That means a lot to her. She said, we know the history of Bayley, former NXT Women's Champion, the classic match she had against Sasha Banks, now known as Mercedes Moné, at TakeOver. Very good match. One of the best in NXT history. But then she came out and talked about how she tried to talk to Roxanne Perez. She cared about her, but she got slapped in the face. And she said that even though she's compared to Natalya and CM Punk, maybe a negative to Roxanne. She sees the opposite. And she said that NXT don't owe anything. She says she owes NXT to get rid of Roxanne Perez. And of course, the confrontation, we're talking about Monday Night Raw, when Roxanne was in the audience. Every match Bayley has lately, Roxanne in the audience. It caused distraction for Bayley. She lost her match against Nia Jax on Raw. Now, before Bayley go further, Julia comes out, and Julia talks to Bayley saying, unlike Roxanne Perez, who do not respect you and admire you, I do. And she mentions how she respects everything Bayley done for NXT, everything she's done for that championship. So, then later on, we have Roxanne and Cora come out. And she makes fun of Bayley lose her most two recent losses on Raw and SmackDown. And she said Bayley cared about the future. She would have punched her in the face. Then Cora Jade said that she was a naive Bayley fan once too. Said she's not a role model. Then she said Julia might as well hand back the NXT Women's title to Roxanne Perez. All of that. And it was so good. The segment was so good that Bayley and Julia was trying to hear what these two were saying. They were getting so much boos, so much heat from the crowd. The next thing you know, all these women brawled out. They all went out. And it's set for a match next week. We'll get into that later. But this is a match that'll be set up for later. So definitely a good setup. Let's go on to the second match of the night. Now we have 1-on-1 Dion Lennox versus Wes Lee. This started backstage. Wesley actually, he started some with Trick Williams backstage. Trick Williams slapped him. We know that he slapped Wesley when Wesley was mocking Trick Williams. And then we also had here as well that we had later on that Dion was going against 1-on-1 against Wesley. Now here with this match here with these two, we saw Wesley. He was moving, gave a kick to the head to Dion Lennox, sent him crashing outside. Lennox, has some good offense, getting a spine buster, using his power, but Wesley got the win. And then Wesley called out Trick Williams for a match next week in Atlanta. Trick Williams came out and accepted, and he attacked Wesley, and he shoulder bumped Dion Lennox afterwards. So that'll be interesting to see how they're going to do that next week. Let's get on to the next part of the show. We have the second championship or cup match, this time the cup. We're talking about the NXT Heritage Cup, Lexis King versus Charlie Dempsey. They went 1-on-1. Now here, we also saw that how these guys were going back and forth. It was the original rules, by the way. No special rules this time. First round, it was 0-0. No one had anything. Then next one, we saw that Lexis King got a victory over Charlie Dempsey. We saw that happen. So, we saw that went down. The next thing we know, this third round, we did see that Lexis King got the coronation on Charlie Dempsey. It's tied 1-1. Then round 4. At the end, the turning point was Lexis King low blowed Charlie Dempsey, and that allowed him to gain pinfall victory. So all this Lexis King trying to be the good guy, we was not buying it at all. We knew something was up with that, but it's definitely going to tell a story. Lexis King is really a heel, but we knew what he was doing. You could not try to fool us though. We saw what he was doing. And Lexis King was being a fraud the whole time, like I thought he was.
I'm tired of being nice. Tell me when I'm telling lies.
So I knew I wasn't buying to Lexis King BS. But it's a good story. And I'm pretty sure Charlie Dempsey, Norcast Core Cruz, they're pretty much a face anyway, unless it's reverting back to his old ways. Let's get back to the next part of the show. All right, we had 1-on-1. Karma Petrovic versus Jada Parker. This match started backstage when Jada Parker got to with Kalani. And then next thing, Carmen Petrovic, she's in a that storyline with her and Adonis dating. She try to spread the love. Jada came at her saying, Adonis don't care about us. He gonna move on to the next one. Your old news. Then they had a one-on-one match, and it looked like it was some good offense from Carmen. Jada with the power, but it definitely was good. The Carmen Petrovic mocked Jada Parker was funny. It wasn't the best match on the card. I'll be honest with you, wasn't the best match, but Petrovic tried to get Jada with the sling blade kick out, but Kalani Jordan interfered. She tried to slap Jada. Jada grabbed her hand. Next thing you know, a roller from Carmen Petrovic. She got the pinfall. So that was it for that match. And pretty much we're gonna see what else happened next in the next upcoming weeks with Jada and Kalani. Next match of the night, we had a tag team match. Nico Vance and Bruce Jensen, Sean Spears stable, his people, versus Channing Stacks and Lucha Crucifino. I can't ever pronounce his name right. This match was not that great either. I was not really into this match. It's kind of a druzy there. I'll be honest with you. They tried their best. They had good moments where they were outside the ring. They had good teamwork with tag team, but it's just something they don't have the best chemistry. Everything wasn't clicking. But the winners was Nico Vance and Bruce Jensen. They got the win over Channing and and Lucha over of the family. But with that being said, let's get to the main event of the show. Of course, we got Oba Femi NXT champion versus Eddy Thorpe. And this was a good match. Eddy Thorpe had a lot of offense in this match. This match really shows that Oba Femi is really slowly becoming a very popular baby face, you know. But he uses power, use everything. But Eddy Thorpe has some near falls there. I'll give him that, very, very good near falls. And I could tell that Oba made him look good. Eddy Thorpe still sucks as a competitor, but I could see why he looked good in this match thanks to Oba Femi. Then during the match we saw A-Town Down Under. We Grayson and Austin Theory was watching. They came on NXT as well. They're supposed to be having hosted a special guest episode. They said they'll host whoever's NXT champion at the end of the night. So, like I said, it was some good stuff there. Like I said, Eddy Thorpe had a kick on Oba Femi's chest. He had some chops on him, had a good submission hold. Eddy Thorpe was moving. It's probably the best match I've seen out of him since he's been on NXT, I might add. But other than that, though, it was some good stuff between these men. It was a very good back and forth, very good exchange. It was very leveled. Enough offense from Oba, enough offense from Eddy, and enough defense from both men. So this was good. But Oba Femi, he the ruler for a reason. Now he caught Eddy Thorpe. He tried to do that. He had tried to catch him at first. He really tried to get him with I think his name. I think it's called the crashing in. I forgot his power bomb. Eddy Thorpe had reversed it, but once Oba got the second time, it was over. It was a wrap. But I liked it though. Amazing, well put match.
Here we go.
Power! It's a fall from grace for Eddy Thorpe. A thunderous one at that. And Oba.
So fall from grace is the name of that move. I knew it was something. But it was definitely good. Very good. Well put. Now afterwards, Trick Williams came out. He wants to challenge, he wants his title back. He said he wants title back. While Oba and Trick was face to face, we saw Eddy Thorpe try to get a cheap shot on Trick. He had with the Trick shot, and then that was the end of the show. But let's go over, and of course, Oba retained the NXT Championship. Well, than that, let's go over the show here. Let's see what happened here. Now we had 3 matches for a championship or cup. We had some tag team matches. We had some women's matches, 1-on-1. We had a segment there. Now, based off everything I've seen, my rating for this particular NXT, not the best, 3.5 out of 5. It was an average show at best. I did like Oba Femi match. I did like the Lexus King and Charlie Dempsey. And I liked Tony D'Angelo and Ridge Holland, but the other matches I really didn't care about. These were the only matches that made some sense. The other matches were kind of, they was average or not that great. Because altogether we had, well, I believe we had these three matches here, and then we had, I think we had another three matches. It was six matches altogether. Half and half. Half the matches I liked was these. The other three, not so much. And you guys can also check on my community tab. Let's see what people are saying about this episode of NXT. We got 78% gave it an A, 16% gave it a B, 3% gave it a C, and 3% gave it a D or F. So that's what people are thinking of this recent episode of NXT. But other than that, though, guys, that's why I thought about it. Now, we go over next week's matches as advertised. This is the lineup for next week. This NXT will be in Atlanta, Georgia. So let's talk about it. Let's see what's going on for this episode. We have a NXT. We do have the women's tag team champions, Naomi and Bianca. They are going to go against Jakara, Jackson, Lash Legend, Metal 4. That's going to be good. We got another tag team match, Julia and Bailey versus Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. And we do have a championship match, Shotzi challenging Fallon Henley for the Women's North American Championship. And we have Trick Williams versus Wesley, the challenge that was made out by Wesley earlier that night. And then we have the Grayson Waller Effect special guest NXT champion, Oba Femi, because he just retained. But with that being said, let's get over to what went wrong with NXT. Let's talk about what happened here. What were the issues on this show that was displayed on this week's episode? All right, let's talk about it, shall we? All right, first thing. At this point, we're going to talk about A-Town Down Under, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. These two are formerly the WWE Tag Team Champions. So we know that. And they was the first one to hold a new current design. But at this point now, since they lost the tag team belts, we saw a tease. It said they were teasing that Grayson Waller and Austin Theory was going to split. Austin Theory getting tired of Grayson Waller boss using him, and also going to be a face. But it seemed like they nixed that plan or whatever was going to come to fruition with that. That's nixed. But now, at this point, it's just nothing more than a comedy act. Grayson Waller himself was already a comedy act since he came to the main roster. But at least Austin Theory, he was two-time United States champion, former Money in the Bank, tag team champion. Ever since he lost that Money in the Bank contract and a failed cash in on Seth Rollins, who was then United States champion, his career never been the same. Pairing him with Grayson made him a comedy act. And it's actually quite sad in NXT. Besides, nothing for them to do. I don't like that. I don't like this at all.
You know what's gonna happen? No. Words? No, you just made the list.
Yeah, so this is going nowhere. They just a joke. Let's be honest. Nothing I didn't like on this episode. Dion Lennox. This guy, built, he looks like this guy got a great build. He got some good height. He's tall. He's muscular. They need to start doing something with Dion Lennox. I remember watching him. All he needs is a little more conditioning in his wrestling and let him display more moves. I think he could be a real asset to NXT if they just display him more. But he always lose majority of his matches. He never gets a win. So I would like if they did more with this man. They need to do more with him. I'm not saying he's the best wrestler in NXT. I'm not saying that either, but they need to do more with him. Because if they don't, they're going to drop the ball because NXT is setting up for the next batch of stars. As we know, the current batch, most people are about to go to the main roster. Somebody's about to people to the main roster. So they need to do something with that because I don't like how they're doing with him now. Maybe they got some plan from the future. Let's see.
What's gonna happen? No. Words? No, you just made the list.
Yeah, so I don't like that with Dion Lennox, man. Not like I said, got the look. He's got to get everything together. I think he'll be solid. Another thing I didn't like, also, this tag team match was not good. This was a lousy tag team match. Brooks Jensen, it seemed like there's nothing they could do with him. They first now I'm talking about the guy on the right with the longer hair that's on an apron catching Shannon Stacks. He was first he was kicked off NXT, suspended, then he came back, then he with Sean Spears, who had an injury. I think Sean Spears still hurt until recently. And now he's in this tag team or stable with this other guy, whatever his name is. It was in this match. It's no good. This match was not good. It didn't cut it. So definitely, I was not liking this at all.
What's gonna happen? No. Words? No. You just made the list.
So yeah, I didn't like this at all. Those are things I didn't like about NXT. But let's move gears. Let's go to what went right with NXT, because they did have some things go right, and I like what they're building here. But with that being said, let's get on some things going on here. First off here, I would have to say, now even though this match was not great between Jada Parker and Carmen Petrovic, I was not the biggest fan of this match that happened. Is the reason that Jada lost that match with a roll up with scratch from Kalani, because they're going to set up a feud between Kalani and Jada. And I've been waiting for these two to feud for a while. I thought they was going to feud right after Kalani lost the Women's North American title, but Jada ended up feuding with Lola Vice. Lola Vice, still not back yet. She's taking her break because she's been putting in that work. But now we're going to finally get a feud between these two. Kalani got her good gymnastic style. Jada Parker has the powerhouse. I like where this is going. Expect the match between these two at Vengeance Day, or just a regular episode of NXT, or maybe a series of matches like Jada had with Lola Vice. But this is definitely going in the right direction. I like where this is going between these two. I think they have the great chemistry to work these matches.
Yeet.
So yeah, I like where it's going with these two. I would love to see what they're going to do next with these two. But that's one thing I saw went right with the episode. Next thing I saw right. All right, we had Bianca Belair, Naomi. They came on NXT. They're aware of their challenge of Jakara and Lash. I believe this match, whether Lash Legend and Jakara do not win this match, they are still being built up really well, because we've seen Jakara and Lash put in work. They've been on all three shows at one point. They got the number one contendership for the tag team match for the women's tag team titles. I do like how they pushing these two as tag team. The chemistry between Lash and Jakara as a tag team is getting better, and it's the fact that Naomi and Bianca are acknowledging them. They're not just a regular plain old tag team match. It's going to really help the characters in the tag team of Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson, as whenever they do go officially to the main roster or whatever else they do after this match. This is really going to help these ladies get through. So I like where this is going. Very well put.
Yeet.
So I like where this is going next with these two. Another thing I liked, it's obvious, we're going to get ourselves Oba Femi versus Trick real soon. Now, Trick Williams, previous NXT champion. We never saw a one-on-one match between Trick and Oba. We had the Eddy Thorpe mixed in there with the triple threat. And Trick was pinned to lose the title, even though I thought Eddy would have got pinned when Oba won the title. But at some point, we're going to get a match. It's inevitable. It could be, more likely, it's going to be an NXT Vengeance Day, which is February 15th. So a little under a few weeks away, under a month. These two are going to definitely have that clash, big man versus big man. And more likely after this feud is over, Trick will not be on NXT. He's going to probably more likely head to the main roster. Maybe we'll see both these men at the Royal Rumble have stare down, whatever the case may be. They're going to feud for that belt, for the NXT title, and I can't wait to see how it's going to turn out. But this is definitely a good one. And I'm going to talk more about Oba Femi as well. But I like where this is going. We finally get that one-on-one match.
Yeet.
So yeah, I like where this is going. This is a very good story put. and I think it's gonna help both men. It'll help Oba as a champion definitely, and it'll help Trick because he put over Oba. Just like it's simple. It's a simple job, guys. It's pretty much similar to how Ilya Dragunov put over Trick when Trick won the title. Now, when Ilya did the honors for Trick, now Trick is doing the honors for Oba. And then when that time comes later on, Oba Femi will do the honors for somebody else. That's just the nature of the game. That's just how it goes at that point. There's no other way around it. But like I said, two big men, that's amazing. I can't wait to see how that's going to go. But definitely solid. And I think it'll work out just fine actually. So it'll be good. Let's see what they're gonna do with these men. I don't know what kind of match it be, regular match, whatever the case may be. I'm not sure, but we'll see. We will see what's gonna happen down the line as we get to it. Now let's move on to current news. We're gonna go into current news now, and then we'll go on to bonus round. Now, current news, this was a part of NXT, like I said before. We see Corey Graves. He's been buzzing. It's been going around pretty much of the whole wrestling world. He was on NXT last week or Speed, but now he is. And this is what it said. Remember at the beginning of the show, Corey Graves said, "I am right where I want to be, where passion is everything, and only the hungry survive, and pro wrestling never stop being cool." Even though he was sound like that last week. Now, the thing about it is he came back exactly 1 week after not coming to work. I heard he was reportedly sent home for the comments on Twitter or X, and they made him delete it. Is this a real angle or a work? That's the thing about that. I will say this. That really did happen. Now, a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's a work, it's a work." Unless Corey Graves is going to be at the Royal Rumble, make his appearance as a wrestler, and go against Pat McAfee, they set up a match for WrestleMania, similar to how Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler had a match at WrestleMania 27 years ago. If they're doing something like that, it was a work the whole time. But if that's not the case, this is what I call a real life work angle, meaning Corey Graves really was frustrated. He really was upset about going from Raw to NXT. He saw it as a demotion, and he didn't want to work, didn't want to do the work at NXT, and he was sent home for it. And he also didn't do Speed either. I believe that maybe him and WWE, they talked about it, hashed it out. He returned to work. He knows the assignment, and that's it. It's plain and simple. But I don't know. You guys let me know if it was really a real life angle or not, or just a real life work angle. Could be either way. You never know what the case may be. But Corey Graves, we got an eye on you. Def got an eye on you. We see this is going with you. And I don't trust Corey Graves. If it is really a work angle, then it's well put. Because, last week the ratings were high. I did that my video for the ratings. Part of the reason that NXT had was 779,000 last week. It was because, let's be honest, because of this whole Corey Graves angle. That's why the rates was so high. And I take nothing from NXT regular roster. They're amazing. They always rise to the occasion when it comes to regular shows. I'm not taking nothing away from them. But I will say it was because of this Corey Graves angle. Let's call it what it is. That's what it was. That's what happened. That's it. There's no other way around that. So you guys let me know what you think of that. Well, with that being said, guys, we are going to switch gears. We're gonna get ready for the bonus round. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about the issue. There's an issue going on, and we're talking about issues in the NXT men's division, because it's an issue that definitely needs to be highlighted, and it's not talked about not talked about enough, or not talked about at all. Either way, I'm going to talk about it. So we'll get that going. and we're gonna talk about how this whole thing is gonna go on because this definitely needs to be discussed because I don't know what they're gonna do or not do. I don't know what's gonna work or not gonna work. But let's get into it. Let's talk about it and let's get it going. And we're gonna get that started in just a second. All right, we here at the bonus round, guys. We are here, we are here. Now, what we gonna do? We gonna talk about the problem in the NXT men's division. It has a problem, and we're mainly talking about the NXT men's singles champions. We're talking about Tony D'Angelo, the North American champion, and Oba Femi, the NXT champion. Now, we gonna go over each champion and we'll describe what the issues are. And it's the same issue, but we're gonna talk about each champion. First, let's talk about Tony D'Angelo. Now, Tony D'Angelo, we know, is the current North American champion. He won his championship when he defeated Oba Femi. Now, since then, since he has won the championship, he has defended against plenty of men already. He first defeated Oba Femi. He his first defense was against Nunzio. He defeated Sean Spears, Ethan Page, and Ridge Holland. Not a bad resume for your championship title reign. But the thing about it is, we got to look at the men's roster, and we got to remember. We got to remember here when Tony D'Angelo is a well accomplished superstar for NXT. He's held all the gold except for the NXT Championship. We got to keep that in mind. So, thing about it is, we gotta understand that what makes who's strong and who don't, because we gotta remember here, Tony D'Angelo, and he's a very interesting character. He's a very interesting character. Just keep that in mind. He's an interesting character. He has the family, he has a stable, the whole mafia gimmick. It's good. I like the character a lot. I like Tony D'Angelo. He's worked his way. He's been in NXT for quite some time now. Quite some time, I will say. So the thing about it is with that, it's Tony D'Angelo, he's good. He's good. I like him as champion. I have no problem with that at all. And the thing about it is, we know that Tony D'Angelo, he got the good character, he got the good gimmick and everything. But thing about it is, Tony, since he is the current champion. All we got to keep in mind why is Tony? Why would we mention him in this light of, as a good champion? What puts him at that as that spectacle? What puts him there? What makes him? What makes it stick with him? Well, the thing about Tony D'Angelo is he won a North American Championship, like I said, for Oba Femi. That was probably the biggest moment of his career. And since that was the biggest moment of his career, we got to keep in mind he has a good rivalry with Oba Femi. He had a good rivalry with him. He didn't win at NXT No Mercy, but he did win later on. I think I want to say the second episode of NXT on CW, and then he retained the title of Halloween Havoc. So I'm saying with Tony D'Angelo, there's no opponents. And let's look at the NXT men's roster. Let's look, shall we? No particular order. These are all the men that's on the roster. We got Sean Spears, who we already defended against. Shiloh Hill, Tank Ledger, who's in tag team. Trick, who already held the title. Tavion Heights, Tyreek. These two are a tag team. I'm really going to mention the singles guys. I don't want to touch on the tag team. Wesley held the belt already, unless he challenged it again. These other guys, we ain't even seen them on TV. Then we look here. Maybe Eddy Thorpe, possibly. Either Page already challenged for the belt. Jasper Troy, I heard about him. Oba Femi actually mentioned him in the interview. Javon Evans, maybe Josh Briggs, possibly. Maybe him. Kale Dixon. And these are other guys, Wolfgang, Wesley, and Yo Hashi, if you didn't see that before. Let's look at the rest of the roster. Malik Blade, Mark Coffey. Stone is the assistant GM. We know that. Nathan's a tag team champion. Maybe him after they lose the belt. Noam Dar still hurt. Ridge Holland just challenged. He just lost the belt. Lost the match. Or Mensa maybe. For someone like Tony D'Angelo, he really don't have that many opponents. The only one I could think off the top of this list of everything I see, we could throw. That this has got to be Oba Femi now. I would say maybe. If I look through this list, possibly Javon Evans, possibly Josh Briggs, maybe Eddy Thorpe. But after those three, off the top of my head, he really don't have a legit challenger for the North American Championship. And that's the problem we have with the men's roster. And this is going to really expose and not make Tony D'Angelo's championship run be that dominant like it should. So that's the problem I see that on the men's roster for this championship. That's the problem I see here. Now, we're going to talk about Oba Femi, who is the NXT champion. Now, he has the same problem as Tony D'Angelo. His, in fact, maybe even be worse. His may be worse. And think about that, because he's Oba Femi. Look at this man. This man is built. This man's a giant. This man's a beast. It's a big problem. And I see that with NXT. And the problem is we see this when we talk about NXT, we talk about the women's division. When we talk about NXT, we talk about names like Roxanne, Julia, Stephanie Walker. We really don't talk about the men's division that much. We really don't even touch on the men like they should. And I like the women's division. No offense to them, I would like for them really to focus more on the men. Because before these women start getting the recognition like they do now, it was really on the men at first, especially back to the black and gold NXT days. And for those who watched the NXT Gold days, like myself and others listening right now, you know that they're not really focused on the women that much. But now they are, and I think they're lacking in the men's division. And Oba Femi, we can look right now. I mean, Oba Femi, we know that he did his thing in NXT New Year's Evil. We know that he had the triple threat against Trick, the previous champion, and Eddy Thorpe. We know that he shut it down, and then he later became the NXT champion that he currently holds right now. Now we look same thing with like I did with Tony Angelo. Let's look. We gotta see what's going to happen because this is not a good. This is not a good thing to have, especially if you have an Oba Femi as a staple of your division, holding the top title. Tony D'Angelo, he can mask it. You know, I found several names that I could try to find out of the roster. But Oba Femi is going to be more difficult. This guy was undefeated for a long time before losing the belt to Tony D'Angelo. For a long time. But he's going to be more difficult to try to have a legit challenger for the NXT Championship. Now let's look over that the roster again, but this time with Oba Femi, not Tony D'Angelo. Let's just look down. Let's look down, shall we? Sean Spears, no. Besides Trick Williams, I don't see any other challenges. So that's already one page. Eddy Thorpe already challenged him. We know Trick was on the other page, challenged them. Ethan Page is not challenged for NXT title no more. That's why he's in the story he's in now. You know, former NXT champion. Javon Evans is a possibility. He's tall. He's a high flyer. He can go toe-to-toe over. Maybe Josh Briggs. Possibly. I don't see anybody else on this page. And then we look on this page. Unless Andre Chase bounced back from losing Chase U, they put him in the match. I don't see him that happening either. There's no legit challenges for Oba. I only came up with two names, and that was Javon Evans and possibly Josh Briggs, because they're working on Josh Briggs right now. He went to Japan. He's with but he's more of a tag team competitor. That's really reaching. I would say Javon. If you take him out, Javon, everybody else has challenged Oba or Eddy Thorpe here and Trick Williams here. And that's the problem we are having. We're having this problem with Oba Femi. He's a great champion, great dominant. He's all around. He's good on promos. His in-ring work is amazing. You know, his timing is good, very good timing. His in-ring psychology is getting better and better. But he don't have no opponents. Shout out to Figure 4 TV. He talked about this. He made a video about this, that Oba Femi's current NXT Championship run is equivalent to the Ultimate Warriors Championship run back in the 90s. If you guys remember Ultimate Warriors' only WWE Championship run. He said that's the same thing, and I agree. What can you do with this run? The only thing I can say, you can have a series of matches with Oba Femi. You can have one opponent challenge him and have a series of matches and let the opponent get some offense like Eddy Thorpe did. But other than that, I don't see this is really going to ruin his championship run if it's not booked correctly. You're going to have to get people from TNA. You're going to have to get people from Noah, like Omos, and you're going to have to get people from main roster. And I said this before, but I know he did an interview and he talks about, you know, very well spoken. He is the future of this whole division. But he talked about, this was on No Contest Wrestling Podcast with O'Shea Jackson Jr., Ice Cube's son, and I forgot the other guy's name. But he did a good interview about it.
And it's honestly one of my favorite matches to watch and participate in as well. Now, back in 21, you were part of the WWE's NIL Next in Line program. Like you said, you got that email and you realized it was legitimate. So just tell me this, man. What was it like the first few times you stepped into a wrestling ring and had to take a bump? And how long before you questioned, like, is this something I really want to do?
For me, I commit. So if tomorrow I said I wanted to go and sell, cars or something, I would commit to it. Like, so that's just the kind of person I am. So once I got hired, I was just like, oh, I'm all in, like, no matter what. Like, even if it required me to, take a hammer to the head every day, that's what I would do, because I'm committed like that. As far as the bumps and how they were when I first started, they were definitely awkward to do. It's your body naturally does everything in its power to protect itself, and then for you to willingly put your own body in danger, it's just the biggest contradiction your brain can't even comprehend. So that's what taking my first bump was like.
Now, right? But also we spoke about Omos, who went over to Noah, just working on his craft. Hopefully he comes back a bigger star than when he left. He's a big man, a giant in wrestling. You're a big man. So when you're down in NXT, who is down there working with you to teach you how to work like a big man should?
It's Ivar. So Ivar, for the past I want to say almost 2 years now, actually, because he's been coming down for a while. He hosts. He handles a big man class where we have me, we have OTM, we have Hank and Tank, and we have some other names that are not quite on TV yet, so I don't want to throw them out there. Jasper Troy. But the world hasn't seen him yet. I think when Jasper comes out, it's going to be something special for sure, because you think Oba Femi is big. Wait till you see Jasper. But yeah, Ivar's been teaching us for the past almost 2 years, this big man class, teaching us big man psychology, because there's a specific way you work when you're, my size. Once you're a certain build, once you're like 6 foot and above, and you have a certain level of thickness to your frame and your physique, you automatically qualify as a big man. There's no debate about it. Especially in NXT, where we have, a lot of high flyers. You will more than likely be bigger than most of the roster, so you have to work that style. So shout out to Ivar for, coming down and, teaching us and, finding time in his busy schedule to show us the way.
Right.
All right, guys. That was Oba Femi. He was on No Contest Wrestling Podcast. He talked about the NIL program. And he also talked about Ivar, who's one half of the current world tag team champions of War Raiders, come and teach a big man class. Did you guys know that? I didn't know he came and taught a class. That's amazing. So good job by Ivar. Well, than that though, guys, that's all I have regarding of the NXT men's division. Have a problem. 2 champions, but no real legit opponents. And of course, we talked about NXT Oba Femi defense, NXT title against Eddy Thorpe, North American title defended. You guys let me know what you think of that interview and the whole thing about the 2 champs defended. Do you guys agree or disagree? And what you thought of the recent episode of NXT? Greatly appreciated. Soon 2 videos will pop up, guys. You guys click the links below. You already know what it is. It's OU.
Something happened this weekend, and I've been struggling with it since I retired, but this weekend gave me closure.
Wow.
It really did. Like, it was fun. Obviously it was fun. I mean, you can't, doing this for as long as I have and